Hey guys, Abe Bowling here, host of Insurance Tips for Contractors. I have been a contractor and tradesman insurance specialist for 16 years. Today, we are going to talk about one of the biggest things that trips contractors up on their audits. And this is an audit specifically for a general liability policy, but the same concept is applied in workers' comp as well. But this example today is from a general liability policy. So, what I'm going to do, and I've gotten permission from the contractor who had this policy, is we're going to dive in and we're going to look at this policy and then we're going to see what happened in the audit. So right here, you can see that this contractor, what they do is they do remodels and then they also build brand new homes. But this applies to any trade. This is not, exclusive to the general contractor community. They bought a policy, and this policy was $7,350 in liability, and you can see MP right there. That means minimum premium. So this policy was rated at the absolute minimum premium that this carrier has to offer, which is not in itself a bad thing. But we'll dig a little bit deeper in here. So we are looking at some surplus lines, taxes, a policy fee. Again, none of this is abnormal. Grand total $7,894.80 for the year. They have $1 million each occurrence, so each claim can be $1 million, and they have a $2 million general aggregate. And then what the company does, and this is again super normal, they divide the million each occurrence into per occurrence, personal and advertising injury, and then you have your general aggregate and your products and completed operations aggregate. We'll dig into this in a different video. But again, totally normal. Very, very, very standard general liability policy. Damage to premises rented to you is at $300,000. That's, sometimes it's 100, sometimes it's 300, sometimes it's 50. There's certain states where that limit doesn't even matter. They just include it. And then you have medical payments of $5,000. That's like a goodwill coverage. If the claim went over $5,000, it would tilt over here into the personal and advertising injury section. So this is somebody trips over your ladder on the job site, sprains their ankle, goes to urgent care, something small. You have a deductible of $2,500 per claimant. Again, we're not outside of, relatively normal. There's a lot of policies we can do that don't have a deductible, but this is not crazy. Nothing here is. So this company does not, their business model was to, they have a lot of gross revenue, somewhere around a couple $1 million mark, and they have very little payroll. They don't really have people going out and working in the field, so they sub out their work. So this type of policy would have been a policy similar to what I put them on as well, because under that model, if it's available, under that model, when we're rating for payroll, again, we've got really minimal exposures here because they simply just don't have a lot of payroll. They're also being rated here subcontractors, subcontracted work. So they had estimated, this agent that had written their policy had estimated they'd have around $379,000 in subcontracted expenses. So here is where we have our problem. They got an audit, and this is just, again, from the declarations, just a few more line items there. They got an audit, and the audit says, you had carpentry construction of $233,000, $233,838. So this is $48.99 per thousand. So we're going to go up here and see which classification. So it looks like it's even above this rate that they have been quoted up here. So the $233,838, and where this came from is they did not collect certificates of insurance from all of their subcontractors. Possibly some of the subcontractors that they hired did not have liability insurance. They were uninsured subs. And nobody explained this to them, that if you do not collect a certificate of insurance from your subcontractors, Your liability insurance company is going to rate them as if they are payrolled employees because there's nowhere to subrogate that claim. Subrogate means, you're a subcontractor, you work for me, you have your own insurance, you screw up on my job site. Of course, I'm going to get sued, but now my insurance company can turn around and sue you because you're the actual one who did the work. Well, when they don't have insurance, there's nobody to turn around and sue to recoup that money that, my insurance company is going to pay because my company took on the contract. So this portion of the audit triggered $11,456 in premium. They had plumbing. They hired a plumber. And this plumber, which by the way, this is a crazy, crazy rate for a plumber. But this plumber in particular, they did not have insurance or did not provide a certificate of insurance. Because again, this contractor did not know that this is something that absolutely positively has to happen. So they got billed $2,000 for this plumber. Now they were also off on their subcontracted work because they had estimated, again, when we go back up here, $379,000. But they probably were not informed on how important that number really is under this policy because this policy charges for subcontracted work. Not all policies do that. Some policies deduct for subcontracted work because they can go after somebody else for the claim. This one happens to charge. So go back down here. Now we've got an additional $786,000, 787 almost, in subcontracted work. So now we've got $6,711 coming from that line item. And you kind of can go through carpentry, concrete, drywall, landscaping, plastering and stucco, roofing. Look at that exposure right there. $88.45 for residential. And then there's a separate one here. I'm not sure what the difference between those two class codes is because they're the same. So I don't know why there's different rates. But, you're almost $6,000 for just your roofing. You got your tile, your stone. So all these subcontractors come and work on the job site. They don't know they're supposed to be collecting certificates of insurance. And then they end up with this bill, $24,397.51. So now this policy that was originally supposed to be $7,894.80. We have an additional bill, they've already paid that, of $24,397.51. So now you go from a little under $8,000 for your insurance expense to the year to $32,292.31. This is one of the really, really, really important things of having an agent that will talk to you about this kind of stuff, explain what's going on here, and tell you this is what your policy wants you to do throughout the year. So that way, when you get an audit, this is, what you know to expect or, what to do to avoid this kind of bill inside of your audit. So if you have an agent that does that with you, that is fantastic. If you don't, you can give me a call. 866-998-7283 is our number. We'd be happy to walk you through anything. If you want to do what this contractor did, send a copy of the audit, send a copy of the policy, say, how did this happen? We can help you dig through and uncover what had happened. And then we could put you on a policy that makes a whole lot more sense. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, phone number for us, 866-998-7283. Thank you so much.